Hello. So, how to build a bookkeeping business for success. So, a solid plan is the difference between struggling and thriving. So, let's kind of build yours. So, this is a mixture of like how to do like business growth, as well as really how to think about business from whatever stage you're at, so that you can really understand like what does it take to build consistency to your income as well as durability to your business, so that no matter what happens, you can maintain your dream lifestyle and never have to worry about money again. So, when I was getting started, I was always nervous because, you know, I was growing, but I didn't really have a solid way to grow my business consistently. Number one. Number two, I always had this fear of like, well, what if I was to lose like my clients, or what if I was to do something wrong and the business starts going backwards? Like, would I be able to necessarily like, survive, or do I have to go back and get a job, right? And that was a really, really, really big focus of mine for a long time. So I didn't want to go back to getting a regular job. And I, finally figured out like how to start getting some clients. I got into about 6 grand a month, and I was still nervous. It's like, I was at 6 grand a month. I was still nervous. Like, man, what if this ends? What if I cannot get clients anymore? Just all the time I was thinking about that. And it wasn't until I really understood what we're gonna be talking about in this video today that a lot of the fear and insecurity went away. Now, one thing to start trying to avoid is you need to stop thinking short term and start transitioning towards thinking about the long term goal. So a lot of people are very, very short-sighted when they first start their business. It's like, oh, I want to get my first client. It's like, okay, well, that's cool, but like you're gonna get your first client. You're probably gonna like get lucky and get your first client. What happens after that? What about the next three, the next five, the next 10 clients, right? So it's like think about the end goal in mind. Like, what do you need to be doing to build a marketing system, for example, that's going to get you all the way to the goal? So, okay, let's start. So, number one, defining your niche and services. So, your niching and your services are really going to determine how easy it is to actually grow your business. Because if you have if you have a good niche, then you're going to be able to get clients that pay you more money than average. So there are some niches that are just going to pay you less. Like let's say, for example, like a salon owner, someone's like that is like we'll say a hairstylist, not the overall salon owner, a hairstylist who like is helping each individual person, fix their hair and style their hair. That person on average is going to pay you a lot less than say like a multi-regional construction company that's doing $10 million per year in revenue and has like 300 to 500 contractors, just on average, right? Because of the size of the business and just how they feel about money, right? Generally, someone who's like more of a solopreneur, or okay, let's go with a slightly different example. So let's say landscapers. A lot of people like landscapers. I don't mind landscapers, but you got to kind of go after landscapers that are slightly more established stage of business than just two guys in a truck. If that makes sense. Like that's the main that like oftentimes with landscaper, that's who you end up running into. And a lot of times like they just don't really understand like why they need accounting or bookkeeping for their current business. And they, in some cases they don't because they don't really have much going on. And that causes you to have to like sell a lot harder. You're gonna have to like try and like objection handle them. You have to spend a bunch of phone calls to them, just like getting them to understand why they need your service. And it's just a lot more work than what it's worth in a lot of cases, right? So that's one reason why I don't like going after, people that are just getting started, or industries that are known for being like, a little bit more kind of like bro business owner mentality. Um, yeah, so that's number one, right? And then also the services you offer are really going to determine how much money you make, right? Because you can do just basic transactional bookkeeping. You can charge something like 500 to $5,000 a month for these services. Yes. However, if you can start adding more services, it makes it easier to charge that. So let's say you do transactional bookkeeping plus AR plus AP plus payroll. Okay. So now you're going to be able to add, let's say each one of those services, the bare minimum is like $500 a month each, right? So you had bookkeeping $500 a month. You had AR for another $500. You had AP for another 500. Then you do payroll for another 500, right? That's now $2,000 per month. Now, yes, that client will take a little more time, but it's more likely they're going to keep paying you $2,000 a month because you're so entrenched in their business that they really need you in a lot of places. That's where you really start showing your value when you have multiple ways and multiple places that you're helping the company out. Now they just don't want to leave you, and they just will stay with you for a long time. So that's one thing I kind of really think about when when I'm working with a new client or I'm like trying to sign up and price out a new client, right? Another thing you could do is like start adding services like CFO services and tax planning services. Now, those are generally higher, level services, and like you do need to kind of develop your skill set in those. Now, if you don't do tax planning, that's okay. Like we don't necessarily advise that you have to do that, but if you're already offering it, we can definitely help you get to the next level with that. If you're trying to learn CFO services, really what it's going to start with is number one, you being good at selling bookkeeping services and adding value in your average client meetings. Once we and like we can teach you how to add value. Like we have students in our program where it's like, hey, I just got this client. It's our first meeting. What should I talk about in our client meeting? Right. And we walk them through like how should you structure that client meeting? What should you be saying? What makes a good meeting? What makes a bad meeting? How do you make sure the client actually wants to work with you for longer? How to see if the client wants to be upsold into a different service or additional services and things like that. So it just makes it easier for you to maintain the client relationship and keep increasing your prices within the existing clients. You don't need quite as many clients. My top student in terms of like the average client value, she had so many different services that people could offer that the most money someone could pay her was about $90,000 a year. So if someone can run through all the services that she could offer to a business, it would be about $90,000 per year. So if you can get to like that, where someone can pay you $90,000 a year for your services, you're golden. Now again, you don't have to charge $99,000 or whatever for them, right? But it's like having the ability to do something and then choosing not to do it is way better than not being able to do something at all. It's like okay, so I always wanted to buy a Porsche, right? So like for me, I have a BMW and I have a Mercedes, right? And I wanted to go and get a Porsche. And it wasn't until I could really start buying these cars in cash and not really caring about like losing the money, where I didn't really have the need to buy them anymore. The first the first one was just important. It was important for a number of reasons because like I bought it for my mom, but I needed like a 179. So I took the 179 and gave it to her. And then the Mercedes, I just always wanted to have a Mercedes when I was coming up. And like so the first one I got to my mom, right? And the second one I got for me, to like be like my daily driver. Um but when it came time to get the Porsche, I was like, I don't really want this anymore. It's like your values kind of shift, and like the stuff that you're doing it for is not really the same. It's not for to have cool, flashy stuff or like to have stuff that's like cool. It's like, what more can I do with the money? Where can I put the money? Can I get it to a spot to where if like this thing shoots out an extra 100 to 150K per year, would I even need to work anymore? And right. And like once I kind of got to that spot, then I was just like I could do a lot more stuff for fun, if that makes sense. Like this YouTube channel um is exceptionally fun. If I needed to do the money, like I needed to make the money, there are way easier ways to make money, especially with like coaching businesses than like doing a YouTube channel. But I like talking, I like sharing, I like kind of giving you guys some value, and I like seeing my average audience size growing and growing and growing every single day, month, every single year. So it's really cool, and that's one reason why I do that. But really it's all about having choice in your life. That's the main message you get. Nothing else from this channel is you're building this business and these businesses so you can have choice and control in your life. It's not necessarily so you can get rich. And like when I think of rich, I think of having like a lot of cash hit your account very quickly. I'm more interested in showing you how to build wealth, because when you build wealth, you stop necessarily feeling like you need to make money the same way. There's a certain amount of peace that kind of comes with wealth, where it's like it's just this underlying confidence that no matter what kind of comes up bill wise, you can handle that bill, or you have the skill set to be able to go and bring on a new cleanup or two cleanups to go and like get to where you need to be in order to pay those things off, right? That's really the thing. So like for example, I had like a $5,000 bill come the other day, and like like if this was like 5 years ago, I'd probably be like, oh man, I'd be really upset and blah blah blah. This time I was more like annoyed. It's like I didn't really care monetarily. It was just more annoying that this bill kind of came up, and it was like, ugh, annoying. So it's like, okay, that's a great spot to be in. If this was like 15 years ago, that would have been like financially devastating to me. I'd have been like panicking. I'd have been like running around like, oh my gosh, what should I do? Where do I pull this money from? Like, oh my gosh, I can't afford to pay 5. Like, yeah, 15 years ago, that was not Not a great place. Really, about 13 years. About 13 years ago would not be a good place. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough because like we in March it'll be our 10-year anniversary for our accounting and bookkeeping firm. We started, man, my partner had basically like lost her job and she couldn't get another job, so we had to like start an accounting firm essentially because like she was really good at accounting and bookkeeping. I was really good at talking, so I thought at the time. I ended up being really bad at talking, right? That's why I needed to pay so much in like courses to kind of like learn like the sales, the marketing aspect. But um neither here nor there. I'm glad that I was able to do that. Um yeah. So next thing, identifying your ideal clients. We kind of talked about our ideal clients. Really, for me, ideal clients is going to come down to a personality that I can really talk to on a consistent basis, as well as making sure that I like to work with companies between about 600,000 to about $5 million per year in their top line revenue. When you start getting to like 8, 9, 10, that's when it's going to be more of like they need someone in house, or if you do get that contract for 8, 9, 10 grand, it's going to feel more like a job than like a independent contract. So just kind of be aware of that when you're picking up your clients. Next thing is set up your pricing model. So generally for bookkeeping service, I like to do between like 500 to 5,000 per month. For CFO services, you can charge from 1,000 to about $10,000 per month. On the high end, you could charge 20,000 a month for virtual CFO services, but usually when you start getting past 10K per month, you need to have some sort of element that's going to be tied to revenue. So that's going to be like helping them order the right amount of inventory, whether that's going to be helping them with their AR like in a very strategic way, whether it's going to be helping their sales team, whether it's doing some kind of sales. So usually if you're going to be over 10 grand a month for a client, it's going to be more tied to sales in addition to the services you're already offering. Like that's the only place you're really going to do that in a lot of cases. Now, yeah, so that's the main thing. If you need help with your pricing, like inside of our program, we do teach you how to do that. Pricing is kind of a weird thing because it's like it's so situational that it's hard for me to like say, okay, so you have to price your client like this. Because whenever I'm thinking about pricing my clients, there are really 7 different factors I'm looking at. I'm looking number one at my pricing calculator tool. Number two, I'm looking at the volume of the work. Number three, I'm looking at the complexity of the work. Number four, I'm looking at like what is the person used to paying? Number five, has the person ever paid a bookkeeper or an accountant to do the work for them? Number six, I'm also looking at what is the intrinsic value that is being added. And number seven is I'm either looking at what's called a swagger fee. Like what can I charge on top of what the logical value is saying, and basically be able to communicate why I should be able to get this amount of money above that. That can come from like, you being experienced, you being the best, or you just understanding how to convey value in a way that other people don't know how to do. Right. So when you have all 7 of those different factors in place, then you can charge essentially the price that you want to. Now, it's it's gonna be it's going to be in proportion to the work you're doing. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to have some company that like has like an hour worth of work a month and you're charging the person $5,000 a month, right? It's generally not going to be like that. It's going to be relative to it, right? Because like okay, so let's say that I know the client's gonna pay me like 5,000 a month is like what logically the work is saying. My swagger fee might be anywhere between like 500 to like $1,200. On average, it'll probably be about $1,000, right? But that's comparable. I'm not gonna add $1,000 swagger fee to someone that's gonna pay me $250 a month, right? So it's like you have to kind of be aware of that. Now, next thing, so marketing and client acquisition strategy. So there's 3 main styles of marketing and client acquisition. So in the short term, actually there's gonna be four. There's gonna be four. Give me one sec. Let me edit this thing. I have like some notes on this screen. Um, client, finance. All right, cool. So number one is going to be short term. So in the short term, when you're first getting started, a lot of people get really hung up in the methodology they're using. They're like, oh my gosh, should I be using Upwork? Should I be using networking? Should I be using Craigslist? The real secret, if I'm being completely 1,000% honest with you, all of them are going to work to a certain degree, and all of them can get you clients. Now, there are some that are going to be much harder than others for the average person. So if you're doing like transactional bookkeeping, Upwork is going to be really hard for you to get clients. Now, I would still have maybe an Upwork profile because if you have an Upwork profile and people come to you, then they're going to work with you as a client. Like you can make some good money doing that. But for you to start doing the job proposals and you like putting out a lot of proposals, you're not really going to get much from that, right? And this was like maybe like 2015, okay, I'd say something different. Or if you have a different service like tax planning or CFO where there's not quite as many people advising this, or there's not quite as many international people that are advertising this, then you can kind of make some moves there, right? LinkedIn is good. LinkedIn is giving more trouble these days than what it used to, as far as like building a network really quickly. So LinkedIn works, but it works a little bit more over time. So I'd actually consider that more of a long-term strategy than just a short-term strategy. If I was going to go more short-term, I need to like make money quickly. I would do a mixture of we could talk about like what that short-term strategy look like for you particularly. Facebook is good. It's just Facebook, the size of client that you're gonna get is really, really challenging to understand. And the only reason why I say Facebook is easier is just because like people utilize Facebook more than what they use LinkedIn. So they check their messages a lot more versus like on LinkedIn, it's like you might message someone like, okay, so you send someone a friend request, they immediately say they're interested in your services, and they just don't log into LinkedIn for like 3 to 6 months. And it's like 6 months later, it's like, oh, hey, just saw your second message. Yeah, let's book a call, see if I can help you. So it's like 6 months, right? So on day one, you found the person, but it just, if you're not skilled at getting them to get back on the platform, then they might not look at it again. So just one of those things. Excuse me, man. I'm like, I've been yawning since like 9:02 when I started filming videos today. It's been crazy. I think I either need some more oxygen, or need some better sleep, or just something, man. Okay, but in the short term, it's all about meeting new people, right? Because okay, think about it. Business owners need accounting. It's actually kind of like dating. So it's like, people oftentimes are if you're around enough people, you're gonna find someone that you really are compatible with, right? So your job is, let's say that you're like young and like you're just graduating college and you have like no friends, you have no relationships, no one, you never dated someone, right? So what do you do first? You just go get around more people. So you either go and find a group of people, maybe you find some kind of like meetup.com group, you find some kind of maybe you do a class at a school, maybe you do like some kind of yoga class or some kind of exercise class, right? So you get around more people, right? And it's like it's not that magically you learn how to like go in and be like 1,000 times more attractive or 1,000 times more just anything, right? You just went and increased your sphere of influence. The same thing when it comes to business. It's like when you start a business, you're kind of like that person that maybe has never dated anybody before. You have no friends. So you got to go get friends. You can either do that virtually on the social media sites. You can do like what the equivalent of dating sites would be like Craigslist or like a or an Upwork. You could also do advertising like lead platforms. A lead platform like a Thumbtack would be considered like a matchmaker, right? Where you can pay a matchmaker to go find you someone. And then, it's not always gonna be like a 100% success rate, but whatever. Um, so all of them work, but really the thing that you need to be thinking about is like what's the one that can make your sphere of influence grow the fastest and that you would not feel bad about doing for at least 3 to 6 months, right? If you hate networking, on day number one, it felt like you had to like drag yourself out of bed. You just had to talk to people, and at the end of it, you felt so drained that you never want to do another one again. Well, that's probably not the marketing methodology that you should be doing. If instead you find that like you actually get clients from going to the gym and you like going to the gym, okay, that's a marketing strategy you can do. If you find that you like using like LinkedIn or Facebook and like, hey, this is actually fun, it's so easy. And every time you get a client, every time you book a call, you get excited because you're like, oh my gosh, it was so easy. I sent 3 messages and now someone wants to work with me. All right, cool. Then you do that, right? That's short term. Long term is more about nurturing and content. So in the short term, you went and you started building your audience. But now in the long term, it's about while you're building your audience, you need to be able to educate people on why they should be working with you in general. And if you can do that over a long enough time period, it makes it where, so in the beginning, let's say that you for every 150 people that you meet, one of them signs up with you for your service, right? Just because you don't have any nurture, they don't know you. People are taking a chance on you just because the need is so strong. But for all the other 149 people that don't sign up with you, there's still people inside of that grouping that could use your service. It's just a matter of how long before they trust you or how long before the need comes up. So your job is to learn how to get, let's say, instead of being one every 150, now when you nurture and you build a relationship, it could be one out of every 100. Okay, that's level one. Then you get better. So now you start getting one out of every 75. Okay, then you get even better. Now it's one out of every like 50, right? And then you get better. Now it's one out of every 25. And you keep doing that. So you get 150 new people, you get one client. And then from there, you'll learn how to nurture. So you start getting more of those clients. You get an extra like three or four clients from there. Then you get another 150. You do the same thing over and over and over again, right? And you just learn the skill set of meeting new people in the short term and then nurturing and building content for the long term, right? Content's really important for doing this. You can do video content, you can do written content. I I personally like video content just because it doesn't take that long. Like I can make like this video might last like 20, 25, maybe 28 minutes long, and it's gonna go out to 180 to 300 people. Maybe I might get lucky and this video goes micro viral and I get 2,000 people to view this video. I don't know. I don't really care if it goes micro viral, but it could, right? Versus like with a piece of content, generally with a piece of written content, the most views it's ever gonna get is like on day number one or day number two versus like for like a video it could get more views over time as people are searching for the stuff, so it just kind of depends on like your skill set too. One of my skill sets is I'm able to build a lot of video content. When I built my this YouTube channel in the first, and I was amazed by this, in the first 30 days I released 90 videos. I was shooting out like three to four every single day, just of all the stuff that I've thought about over the last like 10 years of business, right? So it's like, yeah, I can shoot out videos. Most people can't do that, right? So written stuff could be better for you if you're not really good at speaking or if you're not really good at having a lot of thoughts in your head and conveying the thoughts you have in your head. Right. One skill set that I also have within this like video stuff is that I don't need a giant script in order to read. Like some people have to write out every single thing that they need to do. I can go with like three or four word thoughts and then just rant on them for a couple minutes, right? So if I put three, well, I call it three by three. So you have three different points. Each one of those points, you just talk for like 3 to 5 minutes a piece, right? So you have, let's say you have like a 1 minute, you talk about the title, 1 minute you talk about the problems or like the things people are facing. You make your call to action. That's another minute. So we're already at like 3 minutes. Then for point number one, you do 3 minutes. Now we're at six. Point number two, you do 3 minutes. Now we're at nine. Point number three, you do another 3 minutes. Now we're at 12 minutes. Then the last one, you just do like your call to action, right? That's another like 1 to 2 minutes. So that's a 15-minute video right there from like three three word sentences. It's crazy, right? But that's a skill set you have to develop if you're going to be doing this stuff long term. Cool. So you have to kind of choose. And again, but it's about like what type of content can you do. If you're good at writing, okay, well then you can just do your writing stuff. You could even use ChatGPT. Now you don't have to be that good of a writer anymore because GPT and different things can make your rough draft come out very quickly. Now, one challenge with that though is that if you don't know what makes a good post, then ChatGPT could just be firing out just like a bunch of random stuff that like has no value and you're not going to get any clients from it. So that's one thing. If you need help learning how to make content, we can teach that inside of our mentorship program. Personally, I made a lot of content in my life. Well, we have like what 1,200 YouTube videos up right now, and we don't have a lot of written blog posts we made. So maybe we can help you in something like that. Cool. After that is client finance acquisition. So once you start getting clients consistently and you're really good at getting them to like pay you money, okay, next thing I'd be thinking about would be like, how can I utilize some of the money that my past clients have given me to go and get more clients? So that could be doing like something like a Thumbtack, a Bark, Facebook ads, Google ads, Yelp ads, right? Where you pay $1 and you try and get like anywhere between like three to about $24 back. The better you are, the more money you're going to make. When I say better, it's like the longer that your clients stay with you on average, the more money you're going to make. Let's say, for example, you're going to pay like Thumbtack $300 to get a client. That client pays you $300 a month. If you're not very good and that client only stays with you for 1 month, okay, well that's going to be $300, right? All right, once I got to text one person. I for, That's gonna be $300, right? So that's a 1x multiple. That's not very. It's okay because you made back your money, but that's not very good, right? Let's say save for 2 months. Okay, so now you just doubled your money. That's okay. That's not bad. If you do that, 100 times, right, you're gonna make a lot of money. Okay, so if you do 300 and you double that money, so times two times 100. Okay, you're at $60,000 a year. Okay, cool. That's not bad, right? It's not ideal, right? Because you're gonna need, just to sell 100 people, but you're still gonna make your 60,000 for that year. Now, if you could get someone to stay with you for a year on average, you have just 12 extra money, right? Because it's like you spent 300, you got 3600 dollars back, right? That's 12x, right? If you get them to stay for 2 years, you have 24 extra money. Now, to put this in perspective, most online marketers, they try and get away with like they put $1 in, they get $3 back. And they try and do this at scale. If you can do $1 in, $24 back, you are essentially a 1% top level internet marketer. Let's just put it like that. And it doesn't really take that much because you're not really doing that much marketing. You're just really good at the service you offer and you have a recurring revenue service. So it does make advertising a lot easier when you're good at what you do and when you understand like your sales, like how to get someone to work with you, how to like control your costs, and how to get someone to stay with you longer. So that is a very safe way for some people to grow their income once they've like developed the short term, the long term, and then they go client focus. After that, you start getting more brand recognition. That's when you start getting more referrals and more support, right? So, like for example, like my YouTube channel, after about 3 years of this, the number of people that refer their friends or the amount of support that I get, where people are like, oh, this is great. Thank you so much for making this video. How can I help you? Right? That's just so exponentially better than like anything else you can do because you don't really need to do that much in terms of getting people to sign up with you, right? So it's just very simple. A lot of the consultation calls for our mentorship program last in between like 15 to 20 minutes long because people already want to work with us and they watch the videos, they know that they want help, right? So it's same thing. Next thing, scaling and long-term growth plan. That's something that you can just start doing. Like, do you want to like automate everything, so it's just you doing all the work? Do you want to maybe have like a small like one staff accountant so you just have a person who can do the work just to kind of get it to that, 15K, 17K per month mark and you can just relax? Do you want to have like a team of staff accountants so you can keep scaling to like 20, 30, 40K per month? Like, what is that plan for you? Do you want to start adding more services like tax planning, CFO, maybe small business consulting, whatever you want to do, right? And that's really learning how to scale. And that's a science all within itself. And we can help you inside of our mentorship program as well if you do get to that point. But yeah, so if any of the stuff that we talked about today in our video has been either something that you've known you wanted to do but you just don't know how to do, or it's something where it's like that could be really helpful. If I could get that understanding of how to do each one of those things, then growing my business would be very simple. So I can live the life I want. If you feel that has some value to you, and if you want help doing any of the stuff we talked about today, go ahead and click the link inside the description, either above or below the video, to book a call with myself to see if I can help you inside our mentorship program. We're basically going to walk you through what you need to do to grow your business. And really, it's not just about building the business, right? It's really about having a life that we're proud of and that we're happy to live. If that's what you want, go ahead and click the link inside the description above, below, book the call. Let's see if I can help you, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Take it easy.